Hello and welcome to the Confidence Mastery podcast. Today we have David Falco joining us. Thank you very much for joining us all the way from the USA.
How are you? Good
Um,
afternoon here.
Afternoon. It is afternoon where I am too. So I'm very excellent, thank you. I'm very, very excited to be speaking with you today. Mind you, I am always excited when I have conversations with people.
I love it. I'm excited. Thanks for having me.
Oh, no, pleasure. Could you give the listeners just a little introduction to you? Well, I would say blind date style, but you're in the US, so you might not know blind date. So who you are, where you're from, and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So I live in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Seisha and I, we founded the Inner Anthem Academy, which is a self-development program for individuals, um, where the two biggest pillars, obviously, that we focus on is wellness, fitness, and nutrition. But what we do is we focus more, not necessarily on necessarily what goes on in the gym, but more on like what goes on outside of the gym in regards to our students' time management, their emotional control, their environments, triggers, things like that. And so we strategically, step by step, put plans together for them to help accomplish what it is that they're looking to pursue, whether that is a fitness goal, whether that is simply a better financial um, responsibility. So it's not just a fitness and health program; it's a self development program because of all the additional pillars. The things that we want to teach our students, they're universal across the board. So the same types of disciplines and character traits that you're going to use in this particular area of your life can translate to other areas of your life too, as well.
Yeah, that's what I was really interested in because we teach health, wealth, and happiness, and I call it the triangle of life because they all interlink. So your physical and mental health, your businesses, what makes you happy, what drives you, what pushes you to achieve those goals, and like you said about those disciplines, like having discipline is what gives you freedom. And I don't know if you agree with that, but it's something that I found, I suppose, a bit more recently. I used to be a wild child, and um, just I thought that freedom was doing whatever you want when you want. But you'll know also yourself that the more disciplined you become with something, actually, the freer your mind becomes.
For sure, I definitely discipline's a prerequisite for a lot of things. And so I like how you put that. It's like old when you said it like used to be a wild child. What do you mean?
um, I used to be like the life and soul of the party. Well, if you look up Magaluf, it's a big place that the British go to party, on the island of Mallorca, one of the Balearic Islands, Spanish island. And
Mhm.
I left my job in 2011, just got on a plane, expecting to stay in this party place for 3 months. And we're now in 2023 and I still live in Mallorca, but I don't go to Magaluf anymore. So it was just party 24/7, like literally all day, every day. And I was running bars and then I completely changed my life. And when a lot of my friends got arrested, and I thought, what's the complete opposite of what I'm doing and how I'm living my life? Because if I carry on down this path, I'm going to end up in jail or dead. Um,
Right.
so I retrained as a personal trainer, and that's why health and fitness is so important to me because the gym literally saved my life. And again, the discipline of going, looking after your mental health gives me so much joy. And then I'm able to put that into other areas and help other people as well, which is partly what the podcast is about.
What's interesting is a lot of people that I talk with when we do podcasts or when we do interviews, things like that. There's a lot of similarity in regards to that type of path.
Mm,
Uh, Whether they were like into that nightlife, they were struggling with an addiction, they were just going down um, like I said, a path that they know that was going to lead them to something really negative.
mm-hmm.
And it's so interesting how when they make that decision to change, and a lot of times when they do this, they find a quote unquote like new addiction, but in a positive one. A lot of times
Yeah.
that can become fitness. It can become fitness, and whether that's yoga, whether it's endurance training, whether it's weightlifting, whatever it is, it's really I see this a lot. Is they go from having these types of negative behaviors to these types of behaviors, but they're pursuing them as passionately as they were that night style life. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. That's one of the things I used to say. I replaced I've never said this on my podcast.
All right. It's a first.
I replaced Charlie with Jim.
All right.
So it was one of those like massive transformational, like the endorphins and the rush I get from the gym, but on a good level, and knowing I'm doing my mental health and my physical health so much good. But I don't beat myself up if I miss a day. Like
Yeah,
I've got to that place where I used to be so regimented that actually that was a bad thing because I'd have to catch up and I'd beat myself up, and then like you then restrict your eating. Whereas now it's, apart from when I'm like on it, like at the moment I've got 5 weeks till my retreat, so I'm on a cut for a photo shoot for that. But it's okay if I miss a day, or it's okay if you have like a packet of crisps every now and then. Like it's not like that kind of way of life. It is more a way of life than the struggle. It's not a struggle.
for sure.
Yeah.
What's that? What do you feel like was the biggest transition when you were behaving this way and now we're behaving this way? What was the biggest transition? Was it the people that you were hanging out with?
Oh, for
Was
sure.
it, yeah, me
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. It made the people you surround yourself with, and that's why now I'm so careful about who comes into the community, my community, my mastermind is it's application only. I have to make sure you're a right fit for the people there. So looking after my people and making sure
Hmm.
that, it's like getting rid of the toxicity and ensuring that you're surrounded by people that are going to lift and inspire you, because otherwise what's that saying, if you're the sixth stupidest person in the room, like you'll wherever that phrase is, you know what I mean. I'm not doing that quote justice. What was the shift for you? Because you've done similar.
Well, that from that particular, I'll tell you what it was. So this was more of when I left that type of lifestyle. Um, it was more for like financial reasons. So we'll go back to this. So I would say in my mid 20s, just like yourself, I was all about the nightlife. We were going out, having a lot of fun,
Mm-hmm.
meeting a lot of people, um, spending a lot of money on having fun. This was actually I've had a couple shifts as an adult, but this was one of the bigger ones. Uh, I had racked up some financial debt. I had over like $10,000 in consumer debt. So this was not, and this wasn't investments. This wasn't education. This was just spend, 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 spend for having fun. And I got to a point where I was over $10,000 in consumer debt, and I've been trying to work it off. Right, I've been trying to let's get this paid off. This is ridiculous. Let's get this paid off. And I was just like making little bitty chunks, minimum payments, things like that. I'm not getting anywhere. I was not putting in a wholehearted effort. It was really half-assed.
Mm.
And so I remember this, and I share this with our students too as well. Um, there was I can't remember if it was Christmas Eve or if it was Christmas. It was one of those nights. But I had made all the rounds. I'd gone to my parents. I'd gone, saw all the family, all that stuff, and I had gotten back home, and I'm sitting in my kitchen, and it's completely black. All the lights are off, and I had my laptop open. And so the only light that was illuminating was from my laptop. And I was on the internet, and I came across a video from a mentor of mine at the time. And I don't even remember what he said, but what he did say resonated. And it was one of those aha moments
Mm-hmm.
where the light bulb went off. And I sat back in my chair, and I just told myself, I said, David, I said, if you're serious about this, and if you really want to solve this problem, it's like you're going to have to change.
Mm.
And Natalie, when I was saying change, it's like in my mind, what that looked like for me was, okay, I cannot keep living like this, which means I have to stop hanging out with these people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that these people were good or bad. It's just the way that they were behaving and living was not in alignment with what I needed to accomplish in regards to my goal, which was get out of this financial, this debt.
Yeah.
And so, here's the crazy thing that this is not an embellishment. When I say it's like I can't hang out with these people, it wasn't like one or two or three or a handful of them. I made a decision that night that I was completely washing myself of all
Oh,
of them.
wow.
Every everybody, my entire social circle at the time. And so I made a decision. I said, I'm going to go to work. I'm going to go work out. I'm going to come home. I'm going to wake up. I'm going to go to work. I'm going to go work out, and I'm going to go home. And I just that night I made a decision like that's how I'm going to operate. And here's the thing for all the listeners and who are going to watch this. Some of you guys and gals, you know that you want to accomplish something. You're not happy with where you're at. You identified the need to change. And it's like, okay, I want to get my life together. I want to get out of debt. I want to find a spouse. I want to find a partner. I want to get in shape. I want to find happiness. I want to find peace, whatever it is. It's like everybody comes up with these targets and these goals, everybody. But it's not enough. You need to have a plan of action behind it.
Yeah.
You cannot just hope and wish and just have the idea. There needs to be like tangible steps on how, not what you want to do or what you want to become, but how you're going to do it. And so I made my mind up. I was like, all right, this is how I'm going to execute. I'm just going to stay focused, wake up, go to work, work out, come home, boom, 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 boom. And it's just like, that's my method of operation. And so I started doing it. Now, it wasn't simple. It was simple, but it wasn't easy.
Yeah.
What happened? People would still call me up. Hey, we're going out. Da, 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 let's go. And I'd have to turn them down. Say, not tonight. The weekend would roll around. Hey, we're getting ready. Da, 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 da. And I'm like, I'm just staying in tonight. And this continued for weeks, right? And I would always have to what I refer to as I just continued politely declining. It's like, not tonight. I'm staying in. Maybe next time.
Mm-hmm.
You guys go ahead. You girls go ahead. Whatever it is. And that was just my process of how I wanted to operate. Well, what happened over, 1 week went by, 2 weeks went by. Well, a couple weeks after this of me just continuing to turn people down and turn people down and turn people down, the invitations became less and less and less. And eventually there wasn't anything to turn down. Like I had reconditioned myself, but also I had to recondition the people that I was hanging out with that, like I wasn't
You wasn't gonna
going out
say yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so over time with enough declines, they stopped asking.
Mm.
And before it even got to that point, you could probably relate to this. Before it got to that point, it was like, what's going on? Like, why don't you come out? Where you just like it's like you kind of get that label of, oh, he doesn't go out, he's too good, or he always ghosts, he's just chilling. And it was almost kind of like a small little negative twist
Mm-hmm.
before like everything stopped. But
I was gonna say,
over
did they
time,
give you some judgment for saying no?
I don't think so. No, not really. I didn't take it personal. No, no. Some people
Did you
probably.
ever no? Did you ever explain to them like this?
Mm-mm,
Why? No.
no, no. Um, there was no need to. This would be the same thing for somebody who's wanting to lose weight. Have you ever had that? Have you ever had that? It's like where you try to stay focused, and whether it's your friends, your siblings, your relatives, your coworkers, whatever, they'll ask you to do something, or they'll invite you to do something, and you go and then you say no, but then you try to explain and elaborate why.
Mm.
And then what happens? They're like, Oh, live a little. Oh, you've been working so hard. Oh, you deserve to da 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 da. Oh, you're just it's like
Hmm.
they'll try to combat it with a rebuttal and just be like, oh no, 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 you're good the way you are. You don't need to lose any more weight. Oh, you're just fine. And so they are not really in tune. Your real friends are, but like for the majority of the part, most people aren't going to be in alignment with what you want to accomplish.
Mm.
So for me, I never considered that they needed an explanation. I was just politely declined. I was short, to the point, very concise, with no explanation. I just, hey, maybe next time. Hey, no, I'm just staying in, and just over time, the invitation stopped happening. So,
That's interesting.
but
Yeah.
yeah, and so that had happened. The invitation stopped, and so now I got momentum, right? And so I have momentum by not having as many distractions. So here I am working, paying things off, working, paying things off, working, paying things off. I had been dealing with this financial debt for like 5 years and getting nowhere, just running around in circles, getting nowhere. That year, when I finally made my mind up and when I started, like I said, behaving in the manner that I needed to and staying focused, it took me 8 months. And I remember I was over here at this the bank, and uh the tubes when you go through the drive-through with the tellers,
We
the
don't have
plastic
those.
tubes.
We don't have those.
Okay. Uh
You have drive-through banks.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So we have these tunnels, and so you can go and you have these transparent tubes,
Yeah.
and you can pop the lid. I got my daughter's sock. This is funny. You can pop the lid, right, and you slide
Yeah.
your check or your cash or whatever into the tube.
Yeah.
You lock the tube. You put it in, and it sucks it up and it takes it over to there. Anyways, I had wrote the last check. I'd put it in the tube. I'd sent it up, sent it inside, and I sat back in my chair in my car, and I was like, I wasn't like celebratory. I wasn't excited. I was like, yes, I did it. I did it. I did it. It wasn't a sense of like celebration. It was more like, why did I wait so long
Mm.
to 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 focus? And I share this story, and when we talk about when we have these shifts in our mentality, it's like, even though you may have been dealing with something difficult for a long time, it could be a relatively short amount of time for you to accomplish your goal if you just focus and put a
Mhm.
wholehearted effort. You can cut down the time that it takes, but it's um you're going to have to act and behave in a manner that you've had to put a level of effort that
Yeah.
you've never done before, and it's possible. And I always share that particular story with all of my students, because some of them that want to lose 50 pounds, 60 pounds, 100 pounds, I've heard, they told me, one lady said, it feels like I'm boiling the ocean. It feels like the goal is so big. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, I've tried this in the past. I've tried that in the past. I've failed. I've started, I've lost momentum, I've lost the weight, I've gained the weight back. And like you mentioned, it's like not that lifestyle, it's a lifestyle, but it's just they have this track record and this past history of just succeeding, but always reverting back to their old habits. And I share this story with them. It's like, it may seem like it may take a long time, but really, were you giving a full effort, and were you giving a full effort for long enough? And for the
Mhm.
majority of people, unfortunately, they haven't. But
Yeah.
I'm just here to tell you, like, the listeners and the people that watch this, is like, you can. You have to be honest with yourself, and you're going to have to be a little bit uncomfortable in behaving in a new way that your friends ain't going to understand, your family may not understand, and that's okay. It's not their goals.
Hmm.
It's you. It's your goals, and you're the only one that's going to be responsible for you accomplishing them. And you trying to depend on somebody else is going to be a losing formula. So I always share that story with my
Yeah.
students.
Like focus and doing it for yourself is the thing that gets you through. I find that so many
Hmm.
people they make excuses and they have like, oh, I can't do it because of this or this happened or because of that. So what do you say to people to help them focus on the thing they need to?
I've been doing this long enough. I've been doing this professionally for 16 years. I typically have some sort of reference point from a former student who have accomplished that, especially in my particular field.
Yeah.
It's typically the same five excuses: time, um, my family. That's a time, family. Um, oh, I just have no motivation. I mean, it really is. It's just the same handful of excuses, and we have enough evidence now that, and I tell them is like, hey, look, here's a person that reminds me of your situation. This was their experience. This is what they were able to accomplish. They're no different than you. This was a mom with several kids. This was a da 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 da. And I pull from these references that some of our past students have been wildly successful. And I just use those because there have been whatever it is. Um, I always like with you guys do podcasts. When you started your podcast, did you know exactly how to run everything and do everything? Yes or no?
No.
No, that right. There was a learning curve. There probably still is a learning curve. But that's the thing. If you just sat back and be like, man, I could never do a podcast. Like, oh, there's no way. And you never actually like went out there and just like pursued it, it would never
Mhm.
get done. But it's like all these other people who have done podcasts, they were in the same spot in the beginning as you. We
Yep.
all have to start. We all have to start somewhere. And it's always it really comes down to, it's like, if you believe that it's not possible, that's going to be a problem. It will. And so there's three things that we focus on. It's a skill set, it's a character trait, or it's a belief or lack of belief. And these are kind of like the three areas that Seisha and I focus on with our students on what needs to be developed better. Sometimes it could be all three of them. And a lot of times it is all three of them. But the excuse making, yeah, it's just that's typical for a lot of people and a lot of things, and we just use references from our past students who have had those same excuses, but have also been wildly successful over time.
That's a really good point. Having that proof, that social proof, those testimonials, it helps to stop people like continuing to make those excuses. And I think that when you've got a big enough purpose and a big enough why behind it, behind your goal, your reason for whatever it is, wanting to lose
Hmm.
weight, clear the debt, that's going to help people so much more than just because.
For sure, absolutely. And like I said, a big enough reason. Everybody loves the idea of improvement, and I would say the result of improvement, but not everybody's in love with the process and the work
Mhm.
that it takes. Everybody loves the end result. They see the final product, but they don't see all the trial and errors, the failures and the setbacks, the struggle, excuse me, the struggles that come along with it. And I
It's
think
like
that's
one
why
of
there's a lot of. Go ahead.
I was going to say one of my mentors say people want the baby without the labor pains.
Yep. I haven't heard. I mean, I've heard that one not in a long time, but yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So it's. Do you have kids?
No, I don't want
Okay.
the
I
labor
was.
pains.
Not yet. So, okay. Cool. But yeah, there's just excuses. Everybody's gonna have their excuses, and those are gonna, like you said, it really comes down if the person really wants it bad enough, honestly. Because if it's a big enough commitment, they will find ways to overcome, or
Yeah,
they'll get creative on different ways, or they'll just move forward without having the answer, but they'll figure the answer out for sure. If it's
yeah.
a if they believe in it, that it is doable, big enough.
I think anything is achievable if you really want it enough. And
If you want or not. So here's what I don't remember where I got this from. But there's no such thing as unrealistic goals. There's just unrealistic deadlines.
mhm,
So actually use that one a lot. So people are like, man, I want to accomplish this, 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 and I want to do it in 90 days. Well,
the old 90-day one.
right, whatever it may be, 90 days, 6 months, whatever it may be, this year, blah blah blah. And it's just like they have these big ambitions, and which I love. And this is also what with this, I love that you guys have these big targets. I actually encourage you guys to have big targets, but you need to have enough awareness and enough understanding that those particular goals from a chronological standpoint are more than likely going to take longer than you anticipate, but they're not unrealistic. And that's the biggest thing is like, man, I don't want to be unrealistic. There's no such thing as an unrealistic goal. However, there are unrealistic deadlines.
And the
And
time
so
frame.
if yeah, time frame. And so if you undershoot it and he's like, oh, that's fine. You can always set a new deadline.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you want to do it in 6 months? You want to do it in a year? Okay. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't make you a failure. You just set another deadline
Mm-hmm.
and you just keep on going. So that's just the biggest that's one of the biggest things. I talked to one of our students yesterday on our group coaching. She's been doing awesome, absolutely awesome. She's a brand new student. She's been in for a month. She's lost 21 pounds in her first month, and she's like stoked. I mean, who wouldn't be, right? So
Yeah.
she's stoked. She's happy. This is this and this, and it's so crazy. 2 days later, she's frustrated again, and I brought this to her attention. I was like, just 48 hours ago, you were like on cloud nine. It's like, now you're frustrated again. I said, it's that whole, like I said, instant gratification. It's that entitlement. You guys still got to understand. It's like, this takes time. Anything worth having or anything worth doing is going to take time. So it's not necessarily an unrealistic goal. It's just an unrealistic deadline.
I like that. I was having a conversation with someone a couple of weeks ago, and they were saying about setting smart goals and how why would you set a realistic goal? And like realistic to you may not be realistic to me, like totally different things. Like for example, we've just done a 20,000 square foot property development, and that was our first big project.
Yeah.
Now, to me, that wasn't unrealistic. That was realistic because I knew we could do it with the right team and the right support. Other people may look at that and think, I can't do that, but that's because they haven't got the right team and the right support around them and the right and
Hmm.
getting that training and the knowledge to be able to make that happen. So looking at what other people do as well, sometimes I think like comparison is the thief of joy. And if you're looking at, okay, so somebody else achieved that, I could never do that, but actually maybe you could if you had the right support.
It's the way how they look at it. So that quote, right? I mean, it's even like biblical, right? Comparison's the thief of joy. So I look at it from a different perspective.
Mm.
When you're using comparison, it could go one of two directions. If you're comparing yourself to somebody and it's robbing you of your joy and your happiness, that's a problem. But that comes down to the individual and how they respond to that. If you use comparison in the right way, you could look at somebody who has accomplished something amazing and you just flip it. You just like, well, if they did it, it is possible.
Yeah, use it as
And
inspiration.
if yes, and if it's possible for them, it's possible for me. I may not have the right team yet. I may not have the right support. I may not have the right skills yet,
Yeah.
but somehow, some way, they figured it out. I just need to find out how they figured and what is the knowledge and the skills and all the stuff that they did. And I just need to follow in those footsteps. So
Mm-hmm.
comparison, it really comes down on how the person uses it. But people, and like I said, we'd be flipping through our phones. Oh man, this. Then he's like, if it's robbing of your joy, that's a problem. But if he's like, man, oh, it's like, dude, that would be awesome. He's like, yes, I am going to be inspired to keep going, to work harder. If they can do it, I can do it. So comparison can be actually useful
Yeah.
rather than just simply rob you of your joy. But it really comes down to how the person views it and how they um and really just how they respond
Yeah.
to it. It could be a good thing, but it also could be a bad thing. But yeah.
Yeah. I think most, a lot of people see it and use it in a bad way, and then that gets them down,
Hmm.
and then that allows them to make excuses rather than giving them permission to want to do more and achieve more and have more success.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. I love how you said that. It's like, no, it's like this is the universe giving you permission. It's the universe showing you, like, hey, no, yes, look, it's like it
Yeah.
can. It
It
can.
can
That
do.
has to. You got to be around the right type of people that think that way too, as well.
Yeah.
for sure. And it's not a lot, and it's not the majority. I don't know why that is. I don't know why that is. Most people just are either reluctant, or they're skeptical, or they're just very overly critical, and they just don't. Most people just don't think big enough.
No.
I've
And
been, I have. I know for there's been times in my life where I know I haven't, but
a lot of it though is it's our schooling system, it's the indoctrination of go to school, go to university, get a job, get a husband or wife, have kids, get the house. Like that's the path that most people are supposed to go on, because that's what we're taught. And that's why
hmm
a lot of people don't think outside the box. So the people that do, we are the few. And often people in the system look in, and they can't comprehend it because they don't understand it. They've not been taught to
hmm
understand it. It's the it's those of us that do think differently and go, hold on a minute, and question and ask questions, that
for sure.
see things differently and go, well, hold on, like there has to be another way.
Yeah. I got a question. So for you personally, it's like when you're exploring other options, when you're thinking differently than the status quo or the majority of people, like what's one of the biggest things that you struggle with when you're not falling in line with everybody else?
I don't think I do anymore because I'm not with those people. Like I have not lived a
Mm,
conventional life. I
hmm
Since I was a child, I wanted to go to university. I said, I'm going to Oxford or Cambridge. Like I loved school. I'm very intelligent. And then I hit sixth form, I'm 16, and I just had enough. I was done with formal education. And then I went from job to job to job to job because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And then got on a plane, came to Mallorca. I've traveled the world. I've run bars, gyms, now do property development, podcasting, public speaking, host masterminds and retreats. I don't live and haven't lived conventionally to be
hmm
around those people. But when I was in the corporate world in London, like the last job I left, and I just saw people just going on the hamster wheel, like just constant. And I just like I was looking around thinking, I'm not happy, you're not happy, sod this, I'm off. That was it. I just went
Yeah.
on and then
So
fell
was it
into
aware? What
go
was
on.
it like when so your last corporate job, and so you were looking around? It's like, was there typically it's like what people what I've heard, but it's like, well, I just didn't feel fulfilled,
Mm,
or I have capped. They got capped out, meaning it's like they got as high as they could, and like, is this it?
yeah.
Right? That's another one. Or it's just like they were just still like curious too. Is like, is there more out there for you? So what was it specifically for you?
One of the our stationary guy, he he said, I'm leaving. I'm going to introduce you to the new guy. I'm off to Thailand to be a scuba diving instructor. And I was like, you're mental. So you like you live in London. Why would you want to ever live anywhere else? You are crazy.
Mm,
And I don't know if like that sparked something in me because we went away every year, and then I was going to go traveling, and my friends just they backed out in the end, and so I spent another year of my life miserable, not going exploring. And then I thought, okay, well I can't wait around for anyone anymore, and just left on my own.
yeah. So in that particular situation, when that guy left for Thailand, you were more curious.
Well, I thought he was crazy because like London's my home, and like you've got everything you could ever want in London, but
Mm,
no, no, just no. But yeah, curious. I am curious, and I like to explore. And I think that's partly why I would start a job and I'd like, okay, I've explored this now. That's not for me. Let me try something else. Try another job and
yeah,
another job. And then I just didn't find my people. But now, all of these years later, I found my people, and I still go off by myself because I can.
yeah. So how does that look different? So like when you talk about I found my people, what are some how would you explain that to somebody just like in a normal conversation? for you? It's like, well, what do you mean you're people? What do you mean?
They're people that get me and like support me, understand the dedication to the gym and that I like to be strong, not skinny, that kind of thing. And people who support and champion me, but also question me. And they don't know, I don't have just yes people around. It's like, okay, so yes, you did that. How could you do this? Or
Hmm.
where did you get that idea from? And like you, I love a debate. Like I love a debate. And I've got friends that, will disagree on something, where we're still friends. You can disagree on
Hmm.
something and still be friends, and we have a decent discussion about it. Why do you believe the way and think the way you do? This is why I do. You have a conversation. I'll learn from them. They'll learn from me, and then we carry on and talk about something else.
Hmm.
Those are my
For
people.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you
There,
find your people? Because you changed who you hung around with.
I think it's that's a great question. I don't know if it's a so my people. I think it's more about God, that's a great question. My people. Okay. My people, or the type of people that I like and enjoy being around.
Yeah.
And I don't think I want to like put anybody in a box, but it's just different types of character traits. So, like you said, people who can have a good conversation, people who are open minded, people who aren't quote unquote traditional. It's like you resonate with that more, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I resonate with, so we're talking about my people, is people who are yearning to pursue improvement. This is one thing I always talk about. It's like this isn't our lives are an infinite pursuit of improvement. For people who are not constantly looking to get better, I don't I don't relate to.
Mm-hmm.
People who are comfortable, people who have just, like I said, they've accepted, that's the bad thing. People where they've accepted where they're at
Yeah.
in life. And I'm just like, you don't have to. It's like if you don't like your situation, you can do something about it. And so I will click with people who are just like, you know what? Let's figure this out. It's like, how can we make this? So you use the word explore, and that's one thing that I would resonate with too as well. It's like explore new opportunities,
Mm.
explore new places, explore new get like I said, discovering new people. I'm even it, it, it is. It's almost like it's like what's next or what else? What else is out there? It's not like what's next, and it's not a lack of satisfaction. It's it's a curiosity,
Yeah.
and that's what I was even mentioned with it's like it's just a curiosity because like hey, look at all these wonderful things that we've done and what we've accomplished. What else can we do?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Using
what else is out there?
yeah, using those achievements as motivation to do something else and more.
That's what makes it exciting.
Exactly.
That's what makes life exciting. It's like why would you want? I am very frustrated with people who just want to stay put. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, and it's interesting because it's like, oh, those people they're just happy with where they're at, and that's, I guess, yeah,
That's fine for
because
you,
some people, yeah,
but yeah, as in for them, not for you. But no,
just
not for me. I like, where does the conversation go?
depends on who we're talking to, right? Kind of just depends, and that's the other thing too. If you're not in a conversation that doesn't spark your interest or is not, that's one of my favorite things about Sasha. I'm jumping all over the place. Is so Sasha is my partner. Um, One of my favorite things about her is not only is uh, she absolutely beautiful, but she she stimulates me intellectually.
Mm,
and so the first time we ever met, this was crazy. I met her through actually training. So she was actually looking for someone to help her out with her journey. But the first day that we met, my normal consultations, 45 minutes, maybe, right?
Yeah.
We spent 2.5 hours talking,
Wow.
like unplanned.
Yeah.
And it's just like she came into the office. I don't even remember what we talked about, but I heard the chime on the door ding, and then my next appointment was like, "Dad, gum, it's been 200, or it's been a 2 hours and 30 minutes," and it was just something about so like for her, with her other people, it's like you click with them. It's like you either get on a topic or you start sharing experiences or whatever it is, and like I said, you have that curiosity, and it's like you can kind of tell within a certain few minutes
Mm-hmm.
if this is your type of person, if this is
Mm-hmm.
your people. And so for her and for other people, it's like I said, they work hard. They're goal oriented, not excuse makers. Um, yeah, those are my type of people.
I like
I
it.
hate complaining. I hate complaining. Can't stand it. I hate it when I complain. And I was like, "Dadgummit,
Complain
dude,
about
figure it out."
complaining. Like,
Yeah, yeah. It's just yeah. So those are my type of people. Just people who are like, let's figure it out. Solution oriented. Said
yeah.
this on another show before. It's like I'm just a solution oriented type of thinker
Mm-hmm.
now and forever. The people who aren't, the people who are just like I said, worrying or complaining about the problems, that just repulses me. And it was like, let's stop like worrying about the problem. Let's go solve the problem.
Solution. Yeah, exactly. I'm like that. I
Yeah.
can't. I haven't got time to worry. I'd rather just like do the jigsaw puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Now
you,
here's the interesting part of that though. It's like let's just figure it out. Sometimes though, it's like we start to take action too fast, where we could pump the brakes and be a little bit more efficient. Um, but we just have this operate with this sense of urgency. Yeah. Uh, so that's one thing. I know that's a fault of my own. Is like I just want to go and solve and do and go and solve and do and go and solve and do. Sometimes it's like slow down. Let's look at the over there and what's going to be the best way of doing it. And sometimes I don't always do that. I wouldn't call it I wouldn't call it reckless. I would just call it like I said, I just operate with a sense
you're
of
just
urgency.
enthusiastic. It's
I like that
enthusiasm.
better. I like that better. I'm just very enthusiastic.
Yeah.
Yes. I get excited.
Yeah. I get excited about things, and sometimes I need to slow down. And like, I love a goal, I love a plan, I love a deadline, like mapping it out. But sometimes you just have to go, right, fuck it, I'm off. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna make this happen. I'll figure it out along the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. You've had to overcome quite a bit of adversity in your life, and especially over the past 3 years as well. There's quite a bit I'd like to explore with that. Um, as we all know, the past 3 years have been fucking horrendous, to put it
Mm-hmm.
politely. Um,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
built up a great business and had to control what you could do as opposed to what was happening around you. Which is
Yeah.
something that we like I talk about a lot. And we had a similar situation with our business. Could you share like some of what you went through and how you found the solution, being a solution finder?
For sure. So 2020. So I had a brick and mortar. I've been doing this professionally for 16 years. I've had a private one-on-one studio. I've had an affiliate gym. I've had a boot camp. Um, but I've always had a brick and mortar um, business. Fast forward 2020, we all know COVID happened, and all the quote unquote non-essential businesses were shut down on lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that same year, our first son, Zaman, was born um, as well, the October prior. So COVID happened. We were getting shut down in February, March. Golly, yeah, it's March. I can't believe it's actually been 3 years to this month.
Years, yeah.
Um, 3 years to this month. And the entire fitness industry worldwide, not just here, not just in the United States, but the entire and multiple industries were just completely just rocked because non-essential shut down. And so like there were families out there, there were moms and dads and things like that that had to just completely, they weren't allowed to work. We were one of those. And I believe the statistic was, I think it was about 33% of the entire fitness industry never recovered from COVID. We were part of that statistic. But even in that same year, so let's talk about adversity. So 2020 was the year of transition. Had our first son, Zaman. He's 2 now. He's also on the autism spectrum. We lost our dog. Seisha's grandfather actually had to have his leg amputated that summer. She was let go from her job because same thing, her business was really hurting from the pandemic too as well. So we had this whole year of transitions, starting a family, her losing her job, us, the gym struggling, having family members get sick, losing our dog. It's like it's just a bunch of transitions.
Yeah.
And so I had been doing just a little bit of online training for a few years prior, nothing serious by any means, like 1 or 2 or 3 clients here or there. Well, when 2020 happened, they shut the gym down, and so we kind of they slowly started to open businesses back up. Okay, you can open it up, but you can only have 6 people, in the facility. Oh, you can open it up, but you can only have it between these hours. And all these different stipulations. So it made it really tricky for a lot of people. And so with all those complications, the membership diminished. The business as a whole suffered. And here's the thing about it. And a lot of people don't understand this. I'm going to get on a soapbox. Is that okay? Can I do that?
Go for it.
So this is really interesting because you asked me at the same time, going back to when I was getting out of debt, you asked me, did you explain anything to anybody? Did they need an explanation? I was like, nah, I didn't feel like they needed it, right? Let's fast forward to here. When we made the decision to let everybody know, like, we're closing the facility, I gave everybody the option. I told them what we were going to do. I said, we're going to transition to fully online. We fully continue to serve you guys just in this type of format. The backlash that we got from that was very negative, was very uncomfortable, was very just, I don't know if it's like I expected that way. It was just very ugly, honestly. Not everybody, let me put some context, not everybody, but for, a handful of clients and people, there was some negative backlash. And they were looking at it from their perspective and me as that business owner, because it is a business.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is I'm making business decisions as I should, because it is a business. And that's just and that's the other thing, is it's like not everybody can run businesses too as well, because it's those really, really, really hard, difficult the decisions that you need to make. But I presented everybody with the options to pursue that if they wanted to. But I did the same thing with when I was getting out of that. I really didn't owe an explanation to everybody. It's like, hey, listen, you guys understand it. This is COVID. Things aren't working out. I didn't need to go into deep details. It's like, we're pivoting. Yeah. The good thing is like we actually had an option to pivot. And this comes down to adaptation. It's like, here's the thing. I don't know if you've ever had situations in your life where you had to make these big transitions. You've changed your job in your career several times, right?
Yep.
As you've mentioned. And so it's like every time one of those transitions is, you may have had to have a new skill set, learn a new skill set, whatever, relocated, but there's all these things that are happening, and it could be uncomfortable. And this is what I tell people, is like the people that are able to adapt the best are the ones that are going to succeed.
Yeah.
33% of the gym industry closed down. Some of that 33% closed down forever. They never did anything again with health and fitness. The ones that were able to adapt to an online a model are the ones that are succeeding. The ones that were able to adapt to an online model and do well are still here 3 years later.
Yeah.
We're still here 3 years later, but not only are we still here, but we're absolutely thriving.
Good.
And that was one thing. It was such a, it was actually a blessing in disguise, because now we're able to help people outside of our own community. Whereas with a brick and mortar, we were restricted by geography, 5 mile, 10 mile radius. But now we're helping people across the nation, and we even have international students too as well.
That's
So
brilliant.
we didn't see it. Yeah, we didn't see it at the time, but it was actually, I never want to say that COVID was a blessing, but the lessons learned from COVID was the blessings,
Yeah.
for sure.
I think there
So
is a lot there is a lot of good that has come from it if you take the lessons on board.
absolutely. And even with, like, I think even with podcasting, this is actually one industry I think has actually thrived because of that. A lot of people, just like yourself, is like they were in corporate, and they're like, they were taking a look around. It's like, dude, this is not what I want to do forever. And so a lot more people actually started pursuing their passions. And even in this particular
Mhm.
industry, is like, you see, I mean, obviously now is like there's a lot more podcasts, there's a lot more educational resources, a lot more stuff online in every industry now. And it's actually opened up a lot more freedom for people to pursue what it is that they're really, really, really passionate about, and all for the better, all for the better. So COVID was definitely not a good thing, but the lessons learned because of that was definitely a blessing. And again, it all comes down to your perspective. It's like
Mhm.
things can either be bad, or we can always use things for good too as well. It's just how you adapt and how you look at the circumstance.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of
My
sense.
type of my type of people and your type of people would be like, you know what? Let's figure this out.
Exactly.
Whereas other people are like, "Oh, no. Oh, what are we gonna do? Oh, this is so unfortunate. Oh, the world's coming to an end." And a worm think like, "No, let's figure this out.
Mhm.
Let's find a new path." So, yeah, it's
Exactly.
all the
And
per
it's
it's all
building that mindset, isn't it? And the resilience that comes with it.
Mhm,
You
absolutely.
you've had to do a lot of that throughout your life. What's been like, other than COVID, one of the biggest things that's helped you to build a resilient mindset?
Running away.
Hmm.
Um, my parents were divorced when I was, 2nd or 3rd grade. I ended up living with my father. Growing up, junior high, high school, I think that particular situation led me to have more of a rebellious spirit. Um, uh, I had I had difficulty adjusting to the what had happened because of the divorce. Long story short, you go as you grow up, become a teenager. I think teenagers are naturally rebellious, anyways. But I'd gotten to the point where him and I didn't see eye to eye, and so I decided to leave.
Mm.
I actually did it twice. I left when I was 17, and as the good, father as he is, and wanted to teach me responsibility, he says, "You need to come back home, or I'm calling the cops, and we're going to put you in juvie." Well, it's like I didn't want to go to juvie,
Hmm.
so I came back home, and then, but by the time I had turned 18, again, we still wasn't seeing eye to eye on a lot of things, and I finally decided to leave. So, but with that, it's like, what do you do? Right? There was no sense of direction. I didn't have a plan. Um, I really didn't have a course of action. A lot of things was just like flying by the seat of my pants. I was making decisions. It seemed like almost weekly and monthly. That's been, I think, the biggest theme of my life is just adapting from leaving home early, adapting. Um, like I said, the situation, being in debt at a very young age, being that much in debt at a
Yeah.
very young age, adapting during COVID, now adapting as a parent. That's the other thing, running a online business from home when you have two little babies. That's a
Mm.
whole
What's
new,
that
that's a
like?
whole, it's a whole new it's a whole new stressor, right? And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. What I'm saying is like we have to our time management has to be better. Our communication has to be better. I'm the only one here now. It's like we can't have the babies running around going crazy when we're trying to do podcasts and Zooms and interviews and things like that. And so just like the communication and the collaboration has to improve and be better. And so, but again, that's just another adjustment.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just have difficulties adjusting to those situations, any situations, um, fluidly. And the better you're able to do it, the better you'll succeed. The worse you do it, the worse you'll succeed. Period. So I love hearing how, like you said, is like you've changed careers. Have you lived in the UK your whole life?
Until I was 22, and then I left.
And then what?
Mallorca, Thailand, Barbados.
Oh, see, I love that. Where's your favorite place you've traveled?
Oh, Vegas.
Vegas? Really?
Um, Maybe I loved Cuba. I really loved Cuba. The food was great, but Thailand for the food.
Okay.
Where I live, I love where I live because it's just such a beautiful island. Like the beaches are amazing. There are mountains, you can go hiking. There's so much to do here. Um, but yeah, Cuba was fascinating. That
What was your
there,
favorite? What was your favorite part?
just sit like actually probably Havana, like going and just seeing the beauty in the dilapidation and how beautiful it must have been when it was full of color and like in its heyday. But actually, I still found it beautiful despite how run down it was and like the cars and that the fact that it was so strange. Like there was no internet.
Mm,
Like I couldn't connect with anybody, and that was nice because I was able to be present and just
yes,
enjoy like the experience. And I learned so much Spanish there that it like because people were help friendly and they wanted to help. I'm walking around with my Spanish book and like speaking and they're helping and correcting me and like it was just a really amazing experience.
I love that.
Like
And
I
then you
love
said Vegas. Well,
yeah,
you said Vegas
Vegas.
too.
Vegas is just to drink and gamble.
How long did you live there?
I haven't lived there, but I've been there 6 times.
Oh, okay, so you're talking about just a visit.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I don't think I could live there. I'd probably
Well,
die.
that's what I was getting to. Is like
Yeah,
there's a difference between visiting Vegas and living there. So when you said
yeah,
that, okay, got it. You
yeah.
got to. What's your what's your favorite Vegas story? Your
Oh
most
God.
yeah. The ones
Oh
that
God.
the ones that you can tell on the story on the podcast. Give me a good Vegas story. You go and then I'll well, you go. We'll see if I
You know what? One of my favorite days actually. It was such a simple day, and
yeah.
I was there with my dad and three of his friends, and we I could like I was with somebody. I think I was with Mark or Martin, and I could hear this noise. I could hear my dad anyway, and we went and found that they were on this little plastic racehorse track, and they were like my dad and John were playing, and we sat down and we played on the other side. We ended up sitting there for about 6 hours making so much noise. Like there was just this massive crowd like around us because we were cheering.
Mhm.
And then my dad's cheering every single like little race and he's winning. He's winning every race. And we're like, hang on a minute, hang on a minute. And he was betting on every horse.
Oh wow.
And we just laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed all day. And like these people must have thought we were winning like thousands because of the amount of like noise we were making. And the drinks ladies were coming around and we were just betting like $1 or two.
hmm
It wasn't even massive. And that was one of the most fun days because those 6 hours, I swear to God, it was about 6 hours. And then we went to the Grand Lux Cafe for burgers, which are the best burgers in the world.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Th-
that's the tame Vegas.
That's the one for the podcast. They're actually have you seen that they're building that big sphere theater? Have you seen that? That's gonna be wild. I haven't
Yeah.
been. Station, I went I think about 5 years ago or so for her 30th birthday. And we got to a point where we were all like, so it was like her and her family, and she's Hispanic. So it was us, her mother, her grandparents, her cousins, uncle. I mean, it's like, it was probably the whole family. I said the whole family, majority of the family. And we were going, you've been to Fremont Street, yes?
Yes.
Yeah. So, the debauchery and the just the craziness there too as well. Well, at some point in night, we lose her mother. And this was on the day of her birthday, of Stacia's birthday. But anyways, we ended up losing her mom. And I was like, oh, she must have just like, went in and like started gambling, somewhere or whatever. Anyways, it's like we don't find her. We go to that karaoke bar, we're singing, we're acting a fool, we're having fun, taking photos, all this stuff, things like that. I probably about like an hour or so later, her mother finds us, and she is just heated. She is so pissed.
Oh no.
She is yelling, not even like just like she is yelling. It's like we got lost. She got lost. She didn't go to gamble. Like she got lost in all this mess. And she's completely by herself. It's just like you don't want to be by yourself in a place like that, like
No.
not knowing anywhere or anything. But anyways, and it went from everybody just having a great time. Oh my gosh, this is so much fun. This is so much fun. This is so much fun. To
Bang.
not fun. It's not fun. And so,
Oops.
but now as I looking back at it, it's just like, gum. It's like why? Yeah. Anyways,
That's
but it's
funny.
like it's a crazy place for sure. That's a PG story I could share from Vegas.
Let's say this. There are some others, but not for.
Not for this show. Not for this show for sure.
We're going.
Thailand, huh?
We're going back.
Huh?
Hopefully, we'll be going again for my birthday. I'm 35 this year, so we're going in October for the
I
seventh
love
trip.
that.
My seventh trip, anyway.
My birthday's in October as well. When's yours?
Seventh,
7th, 20th.
20th.
Libra,
Nice.
Libras for sure. Yep, yep. So even but going back to like the whole adversity thing, it's just like people just need to understand is like things aren't always going to go perfectly. Things aren't always going to go even smoothly.
Mm,
Sometimes things are going to go just like really, really um, terribly, but you can still always move forward from
yeah.
that. It's just again, it's like roll with the punches, be adaptable. Um, I saw a video yesterday, Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, he talked about, it's like you can always have you can have a bad moment. He says you can actually even have a bad hour, but you decide if you're actually having a bad day.
Hmm.
He's like, I don't have bad days. I'm in control of that. I may have a bad moment. I may have a bad hour, but it's just like I don't have bad days because I decide that I don't have bad days. And I think that's a really good fresh outlook
That's
and
a good way to
perspective
look at it. Yeah. And it
for
is, it's
sure.
just that it is a bad moment or a bad thing. It's not a bad life as
Yeah.
well. Because unless you let all of those things add up and let those control you rather than you controlling how you respond, you have to be the one in control of, how you respond to these outside and external factors.
And you know what's interesting is that every human being that you meet, we could always share stories of adversity,
Mm,
right? Oh, well, this happened. Oh, well, this happened in my life. Oh, I had this one situation. Everybody has their stories of adversity. I love a good comeback story.
mm,
And so that kind of is the difference is like, don't just tell me about, the bad thing that happened, but it's like, I want to know how you came out of it.
yeah,
But not everybody has those types of stories to share, and that's unfortunate. But
but they could have.
they could have,
Yeah,
and they can have
they
for
can
sure.
have. And that's why we do what we do to help people overcome those adversities and live a different and more fruitful life.
Sure.
Yeah. So what gives you the confidence in yourself to do what you do?
That I have a stack of evidence. Uh, Alex Hormozy, he talked about that too. He says like, developing confidence in yourself is not just like screaming affirmations to yourself in the mirror. Oh, you can do it. Oh, you got it. It's not about, that's not how you build confidence. You build confidence through having an amount of evidence showing that, hey, look, like, yeah, you did that. Yeah, you did that. Yeah, you can do that. You can do hard things. And I think that's definitely where my confidence comes from. There's been plenty of times, even I would even say like recently, like we always get these feelings of not good enough, inadequate, feeling inadequate.
Yeah.
You don't feel like you're a good enough friend. You don't feel like you're a good enough parent. You don't feel like you're a good enough spouse. You don't feel like you're a good enough, fill in the blank, whatever it is. Everybody's going to have those types of experiences. And again, those moments. But again, I think like even what we've talked about this whole time is like, what do you do when that does happen? Because it will. But like, how do you respond to it? Is like, for me, what gives me confidence is like, even though when those situations and those emotions do occur, because they will and they continue to will, but when they do, I have still just made the decision that I'm just going to keep moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I've always done, whether it was running away from home and figuring it out, whether it was, getting tens of thousands of dollars in debt and still just moving forward and figuring it out, whether it was, having your business completely shut down, not due to your fault, and then figuring out to now it's like navigating having a family and the challenges with that, and then figuring it out. It's just keep moving forward, and just deciding to do that. It's like you'll make it through. Like you will if you just decide to not stop. And then the more you do that, and then the more you overcome, and then the more you do that, and the more you succeed, you start to just naturally build this resilience and this confidence over time. You don't just wake up one day and be like, oh, I got it. No, it's like and that's the part about it. It's like we need the adversity. We need the adversity to test us so that we can overcome it, so that we can develop the confidence.
Mm-hmm.
So I welcome it. I welcome the adversity.
I like that. I like that a lot. A lot of people, they don't want it and they struggle with a challenge and hide away in fear. But actually, if you face these things, you do become stronger, and you're able to succeed more and do what you want in life.
They want the stories without the scars.
Scars make things interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's next on the cards for you?
What's next on the card for me? Well, I mean, just this. Like I said, Sasha and I, we've been running the academy now for. We've gone fully online for 3 years. That's just my biggest focus. I'm actually getting ready to head out to a mastermind here this next weekend out in California. But just continuing to go, because again, this is still relatively new in regards to building an online business fully. We've done very well for ourselves, but still, like we talked about earlier in the show today, it's just like I'm not satisfied. It's like, what's next? It's just continuing again that infinite pursuit of improvement, and then it's like I don't think there's a like what's next. Is how do we just get better? What's next? Getting better. What's next? More improvement. What's next? How to just refine my skills, get new skills, meet new people. It's yeah, that's what's next. Is just keep growing. Just keep growing.
I love it. Brilliant. Thank you very much. And if you could leave people one tip to increase their confidence, what would it be?
Mess up. And that's a lot of people that people are like, what? It's like, how's that going to help my confidence? Again, it's like, it's through trial and error and those lessons that we learn through trial and error. It's like, you need to mess up so you can figure out what it is that you need to get better at. And then you start pursuing getting better at those things. And then again, over time is how you'll develop that confidence. But those are the best teachers is failure. and I have a very strong outlook on screwing up. Most people just, they're like, oh God, I don't want to mess up. I don't want to mess up. What if I mess up? What if it completely fails? What if it got da, da, da? You know, they just, again, it's their perspective. And
Hmm.
what I teach our students is I literally like just go screw up, like go mess up. But then you got to figure out and learn is like, okay, why did that happen? How did that happen? And like, let's actually analyze the situation. Let's learn from the situation. And now we have a reference point that we can use ongoing for the future. But we would never have that reference point if things didn't screw up. So
Hmm.
go screw up, make mistakes. And through the process of learning from your mistakes and getting better, that is how you're going to build confidence. It's not from getting everything right. It's from screwing up, getting it wrong, figuring it out, getting better, and then in the future getting it right. And that's the process. It's like we have to have those failures to have those successes, or we won't learn anything.
Yeah.
That's what I tell people. It's like, go screw up. Don't be afraid of it. You're still here. There's been plenty of times when you've screwed up already and you're still here. So it's like, don't be afraid of messing up. I have an interesting outlook on failure. Um, I don't look at it as a negative thing. I look at it an appropriate thing. Like we need to fail.
Yeah.
It's part of the process. It's a part of the process.
Yeah. And we're all human and we do all, mess up and make mistakes, and we just have to learn from them.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Amazing. Well, thank you very much. On that note, I think this is a very nice time to bring this to a close. I hope you've enjoyed this conversation as much as I have.
I always enjoy meeting people who are like-minded. And like I said, I love that you traveled. I love that are you bilingual? You're multilingual?
Just Spanish.
Just Spanish? Yeah, I love that. So it's this is like it's refreshing to meet people who, like I said, who are on the same wavelength. Like I said, they share like similar ideas and common interests and things like that, and they're not just sticking in one place and being just so traditional and the status quo. So that's always refreshing for sure.
Amazing. Brilliant. Same. And thank you. We're a fan of online stalking, just not in-person stalking. So where can people online stalk you?
Well, the platform that I'm active on the most is Instagram. You can find me at freefalco_fitness, FREEFALCO_fitness. Um, I am on other platforms too as well, but Instagram is the one that I'm the most active on, so you could find me there.
Amazing. We will put everything in the show notes for people to come and find you. Again, thank you very much. I've thoroughly enjoyed this. I know the listeners will. So make sure you go and follow David and download, subscribe, share with your friends, family, even the people that you don't like, because sharing is caring. Thank
Sharing is caring.
you. Sharing is caring. So thank you very, very much. And we will see you on the next one.
Thanks for having me.
No, it's been a pleasure.